What's on your mind today?
What's on my mind is what's on our mind. We were just having a good download from last week's calls and also last week's video shoot with John Bourgeois in Tennessee. And that was awesome. It got us thinking. And we were talking a little bit today about how to get a new habit going with creating a community based social presence that shows who you are, what you're about, how you get your message out, and how to actually start doing it. Because I know, Dave, just you and I talking, this is kind of nerve wracking to be on video. It's kind of nerve wracking to hear your own voice being recorded, your own facial expressions. We get in our own headspace and we tell ourselves, oh, maybe not today. Maybe I'll start tomorrow.
Mhm.
Oh, maybe that's for other people. Maybe I could just be an also ran. Kind of walk through what are the reasons we don't actually do this more frequently as people in industry.
Well, I think you said it. One of the biggest things is fear, and not even so much fear. Like, people have fear of public speaking, and I think it's even it's taken to the next level even with video because it's recorded, right? It's if you mess up in public speaking, at least used to be, it wasn't recorded, and so you messed up. People laughed, people forgot about it, but here it's like recorded for people to live or you to live over and over and over again. So I think part of it is fear. I think a bit of it too is just it's the fear of the unknown, right? I've never done this before, and I don't really know where to start. And we've said it before. It's like if you want to get in shape, you don't just wish for it. That doesn't work. You actually have to go to the gym, start some kind of a routine, and do it, day after day, week after week, month after month, and you're going to start to see the results of your efforts. But it's that initial like you just got to start. You got to get in your car and you got to drive to the gym and you got to walk in the front door. And that kind of starts the whole thing.
Well, and I think, for me, and I think for you as well, and others like us, the feeling that we need to be perfect out of the gates is tough. We may be really good at our profession. We might be really good with our customers. We might be really good with our coworkers. And then we come in front of the camera and we're thinking that we need to be at that level immediately. And this idea of perfection is in our heads. And then we go, and stumble and think about, and we don't know how to progress forward. And that stops us. I know for me, that was initially tough. You're trying to get the right angle, the right light, the right whatever. And what we've learned, and it was kind of emphasized last week with John Bourgeois' video that it'll be fun to put out to the group, is that just do it. Show you're part of the community. If you're doing something in a day, film it. If you're going to do something that you just had success with a client or a successful transaction or some hurdle was overcome, kind of talk about that and share that. Someone is going to be connecting with that message.
Yeah. And like John was saying too, a big part of his success has been following what others, his mentors, are already doing successfully. And that was one of his big things. It's like you don't have to recreate the wheel. But I think you just said about being perfect. You're right. And we were talking about like what we wanted to talk about in our next few episodes, et cetera. And it was really looking at being present over being perfect. Right. And so you
That's
really
it.
don't have to be perfect. People actually want to see you're human and they want to see your flaws and that you're making mistakes and you're not maybe pronouncing a word incorrectly or what have you. But they're not looking, they just want you to be present. And you and I are both big on scheduling things, right? So we've talked to one another, we've talked to a lot of our originators about making sure they schedule time for things like not even just your own social videos that you're going to produce for yourself, but being present in the people that you follow, commenting on what they're doing on their posts, forwarding their posts, forwarding other people that you follow that may be of interest to your clients, and your referral partners. But making sure you schedule time for that because we all know you can wake up in the morning and it looks like you have somewhat of an empty schedule, but then little fires pop up here and there, and those things that you meant to do or really wanted to do, they get pushed off to the next day, the next day, the next day, and then ultimately they just never happen. So making sure you schedule it, which we're both big believers in. But there's another part of that too, and that is, what if you have a break in your schedule?
I love it. So I think the scheduling, the meaningful, purposeful activity in a weekly basis is really good because otherwise it may not happen or it may not be present that day in your head and you're just going to skip over it. So I love doing that. But what if a meeting ends early, a phone call or ends early, and now you are with 15 extra minutes? What would you do in that 15 minutes? What has the biggest bang for its buck? Maybe it's putting out a message that up to 1,000 people are going to see and talking about something that you just experienced that day. Maybe it's a newsworthy item in the media locally or nationally, or kind of just a universal statement that you were reminded of as it relates to you and your industry. Put it out there. Just put it out there. Be a billboard that people can see frequently. You don't have to have, it's like a blockbuster movie. Not every movie produced is a blockbuster, but lots of movies can still get produced that are great. And so just put it out there, put yourself out there. And then the other thing we talked about is, what if you only have 2 minutes? I can shoot two 30-second videos saying, "Hi, Dave, just thinking about you, remembering our conversation from yesterday," et cetera, and shoot that to you with no editing, no anything. And now you receive a personalized message. And I can do that with people, my customers, my referral partners, people I want to target. Anyone would like to receive a good, clean, quick message on video. It's way better than trying to read an email or a text.
For sure. Now you just said that, and it's so true because like I'll get a lot more today. I'll get a lot more video messages or video, I'll call them video voicemails. But I'm much more apt to take the time to look at a video message quicker than I would be to listen to a traditional voicemail, right? Especially if it's from a phone number that I maybe don't have saved, right? It's just curiosity, right? You see somebody's face all of a sudden, you're like, who is this? And what are they trying to contact me about, right? So yeah, I think that's really key. And what I like to do is I like to have a separate, so again, I've got my schedule every day, and then you've got your, call it your side menu, that are things that, you know what, if I have an extra 2 minutes or 5 minutes in the day, I want to knock these things out. And it could be a list of 20 things or whatever. And maybe you don't get through all 20 of them, maybe none that day. But when you do have a break in your schedule, you have that list to try to knock it out as soon as you can. And it's also things you're going to add to, sometimes you're have trouble falling asleep. It's like, oh, you know what I just thought about that might be really interesting is this. And, you write it down and you shoot a quick 30-second clip that may be of interest to a lot more people than just yourself.
So I love that. And we just talked about, take a 15-minute window, get a message out into your social that's relevant, that's positive, that doesn't need to be super long. Do the one-on-one video messages. And here's something: after a meeting, if I've driven to and I'm driving back, I use CarPlay and I just simply send a quick text message. "Hey, Dave, great meeting you for lunch. Thanks so much. Enjoyed our conversation. Look forward to next time." Just a nice little thank you as you're leaving a place. It makes a little exclamation point on the event versus it just kind of withers away into memory.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these are just some quick thoughts that we came up with after having a pretty long discussion of some of the topics we're going to have going forward. We thought this would be really good because that's what an impact of our last week's recording of the podcast left us with, is that people can fill in the gaps a lot faster, get used to being on film, even if it's the one-on-one messages that are quick clips. Get used to that process so you can start putting things out to the public more often and get a much more viral reach by your effort and fill in a lot of value for that 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, some of the key takeaways is do try everything you can to schedule time for your social media every week. And I say that you can break that apart. So it's not just what you're doing for yourself, for people that follow you, but more specifically, and I think more important, is getting engaged with your community, whether it's your clients, your referral partners, or just your community in general, and making sure you engage with them, share their content, listen to their content, comment and like their content, because all of those things help drive business for you as well, and not just them. And I know they would appreciate it, and you will too, and I'm sure they'll reciprocate for you.
In conclusion, then, this is something I'm going to guess we're going to answer the same. Dave, if I said, "How do you make the phone ring?" what would you say?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways, but I think
Kind of immediately. What would happen if you made 5 outbound phone calls? What's going to happen to your phone?
I would assume that I'm hoping to get 5 responses back, right? And I would
Right.
say the same thing if I were to shoot a video.
So that's it. And if you were to go, I was kind of playing off of your social media time blocking to go interact with other people. If you want more interactions on your social media, go interact with other people's social media and probably get some bounce back and some attention that way as well,
Yeah,
back to your
definitely.
sites.
Yeah. And again, back to the whole reason we shot this video in the first place, it's more important and more relevant to um, not be perfect, but to be present, on social media. And it really, it doesn't matter how long your video is. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. I mean, you want some content that's going to be relevant for people, but it doesn't have to be a hour long rehearsed content. But just a lot of things that come up that are on your mind that you're thinking about, there's probably a lot of other people, both in and out of the industry, that are thinking about the same thing. And so it's just that sharing of information. The internet and social media is all about sharing information that's relevant. And so as much as you can share, as often as you can share it, I think you're just going to have good results.
Absolutely. So create the new habit, fill in the gaps. We just gave you some good tips on how to do that. Thanks so much, Dave.
Thanks, Eric. Presence over perfection, right?
Love it.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.